Oh, for Christ's sake. Can you please just sit down? Have a seat. I have pesto pasta. I have the chicken, parmesan, tomato. Okay, I'll tell her. What's tubes and tentacle? What kind of food is that? That's what kind of food is that? No. What kind of animal is that? Good. So you have to be specific. No, not yet. Not yet, not yet. These bigger ones should go in there first. Yep. Are you done eating? Don't mess with that stuff. No, this is broken already.
No,
I'm gonna complain about it.
you're not gonna complain about it.
Things broken.
But
It's unacceptable.
well,
That's not happening. I'm gonna return it. The lid is broken. Yes. Oh no, well, these are not broken. This is. The lid is cracked. I'm gonna return it. Return this one. Can you just not touch that? Don't play with that, please. No, I'm returning it, meaning that's broken. So I return it and then they'll ship me a new one. They'll ship it to us. They'll ship it to us, to our address. To our address. Okay, Brayden, that's enough. Who did you have lunch with today? Oh, that was broken. Come on. This one is not broken. Brayden, stop.
you want my window now?
No, it's just wait. I can
No. After my meeting, who are you gonna eat with lunch tomorrow? Who are you eating lunch with tomorrow?
Special guests agenda, so we're going to jump right in. We want to give as much opportunity so that this is participatory, interactive, and we have a lot of takeaways from this. So, without further ado, welcome everybody. Thank you for braving the freezing cold, for joining online. We're super excited about this event. I'm Cecilia Klein, past president of SEPTA, and I'll be your moderator for the night. So we just want to welcome everyone. Really appreciate the amazing special guests we have, truly representative of all areas of APS. We're really excited about the level of collaboration that SEPTA has been able to have, engagement with APS, and excited for this interactive workshop on such an important topic. Has been a lot of meetings, there have been a lot of presentations, there's been thank you so much for the school board members for coming out. Really excited to have you here tonight as well. So there's been a lot of talk around billing. We want to hone in the focus today as SEPTA is on APS students with disabilities, and again, making this workshop to hear ideas, working, what's not working, so that we all have homework and improvements for our students. Thank you also for the students who are represented here today. And logistical technical thing, I don't think we have any feedback. If you are connected in the room, please keep your mics off so we don't have feedback. We do have people stopping the Zoom chat, just put in chat if there are any technical difficulties. And we appreciate your participation. Our agenda for the night. We'll try and make up a few minutes here. So we'll start off with intros, do a review of the goals. We can read it. Basically, we're going to have our presentations go back and forth, hear from APS, hear from the participants, and the workshop, brainstorm some ideas on how to improve things. So we'll keep things moving. I want to say, I guess, a disclaimer. Obviously, this is a very personal, very sensitive topic that hits home. I imagine a lot of you are here because you've had personal effects of your children have had direct experience with bullying, and so we want to maintain, obviously, an air of respect and confidentiality. With that though, we do want to focus today on the process, the reporting process, the response process. We don't want to, I know it's hard, we don't want to get into specific personal individual cases. APS has stated very clearly and emphatically that they are ready, willing, and available to address any personal concerns, and they are here. If you are in the room and you have a personal case that you want to bring to their attention, that needs attention, you can write it down, hand it to any of the SEPTA representatives here. We'll make sure that they get it anonymously or with identifying information, however you prefer. Online, same thing. You can send, we have a community feedback form on the arlingtonsepta.com website that you can submit any information. We will maintain everything confidential if you so wish, and if you wish for us directed responsible for handling those situations, we will make sure that they're getting it also. So we recognize the importance of giving that time and attention. So we will we'll talk and we'll make sure that those pieces of information get to the appropriate people if you so wish. We do have a parking lot. We will have a parking lot as well. For if there are things, for example, about prevention, we are all about prevention. We've also been meeting with APS about prevention. It's important, but not the focus of tonight. So things about prevention, about professional development, and then here we come up any other topics outside the topic today. We're going to so that if we need to, we can organize another workshop and bring someone and workshop that. With that said, we will our special guests from APS to introduce themselves and give a little more guidance around the workshop for us today. I'm not your director of special education. Student support getting it started directly with special to SEPTA. We are going to counsel and brainstorm tonight but if you have an individual issue that you would like us to talk about, follow up on, just don't hesitate to reach out. And it's a lot to congratulate Mr. Captain and PRC who helped us, but Kevin just received her 35th year service award in Arlington. So thank you for being here.
Members of the school board who are here also, I think we really appreciate you coming and listening. So people in Zoom can also know who's present today.
Hi, Kathleen Clark, a school board member and past president of the Special Education PTA. Miranda Turner, school board member. Bethany Zucker-Sutton, vice chair of the school board.
Thank you so much. We're so excited to have such a diverse group representing all the people who make up APS here today. So why are we here? We know bullying happens, unfortunately. Particularly, we know that in APS, bullying of students with disabilities happens disproportionately at higher rates than other student groups. We'll hear later from APS, the data that they've gathered that shows this. Even so, with the data showing the higher rates, we also know that it's underreported for many reasons that we'll talk about later. What are we talking about when we talk about bullying? There's a lot of, the term gets thrown around a lot, right? For the purpose of tonight, for this workshop, we will be referring to the Virginia Department of Education definition of bullying, which states that bullying is any aggressive and unwanted behavior that is intended to harm, intimidate, or humiliate the victim. It involves a real or perceived power imbalance between the aggressor or aggressors and the victim. It is repeated over time or causes severe emotional trauma. This also includes cyberbullying, but it does not include, what it is not is ordinary teasing, horseplay, arguments, or pure conflicts. So that's the definition for the purpose of tonight that we will be referring to bullying. Next slide. Our goals today, we really want this, as I mentioned before, to be as participatory as possible. We're looking for input from a wide range of representatives of Arlington Public School, which we're so excited to have in the room and on Zoom. And we want to come out from tonight with specific actionable improvements. So we're looking to bring positive change to APS, to come out with some actions, action plans, action points that we can all respectively put into practice. Anything outside the scope, like I mentioned, will park in the parking lot. So with that, I will hand the mic over to APS for their first presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. We want to thank our Chief of Staff for attending too. He went to the back corner, but I will thank Mr. Brian Stockton, who helped us organize and pull this evening together. We do believe that it's important to ground the work that we do in data. So we're going to take a few moments just to review some of the data that we have here and to reiterate what was stated before. When you look at total number of incidents of bullying and cyberbullying, let me describe incidents being an incident being reported, an incident being investigated, and then documented within our student information system. So because tonight we wanted to be able to identify the person who was, the characteristics of the person reporting bullying and the reported bully or alleged bully, it was important to have both pieces of those linked to an investigation. So you do see some longitudinal data here, and you will see 21 reports of bullying that were investigated, which is a very small number for a school system of our size. We do believe that bullying remains underreported, but you can certainly see that within the first few years of data. When you see the jump to 108, of course, in 23-24, of course, that is a large jump. And I will say, when we look at the data, we believe in the last 2 years, under the work of the different offices, school climate and culture, student services, and DEI, there's been extensive training, particularly this year, really education, improved reporting. Last January, we also put an email out, reported apsva.us, and really tried to emphasize reporting structures for families and students online, on the school website. So as you raise awareness of a topic like bullying and cyberbullying, we would expect those numbers to go up, because now hopefully we are having things reported so that we can investigate and deal with it. You then see 24-25 with just the note that that's the first 2 quarters so far this year. When we look at the next chart, the total bullying and cyberbullying by respondent, as I said, that is the person who is bullied. And again, we can go down here, we're able to disaggregate the non-student with disability and the student with disability as the alleged or reported bully in these cases. You will see when you get to the bottom of all the longitudinal data, we had 77 students with disabilities as compared to 153 students without disabilities. Or I should say students with disabilities who do not have an IEP or a 504 as delineated by the school system. So even just looking at where we are this school year to date in the first 2 quarters, we have 50 respondents linked to 32 incidents. So, you know, you can have more than one student obviously involved in a situation. So if you think that, you know, see that the numbers might not match, that is why. You can also see students with disabilities, 11 to date as the reported bully. It's about 34%, which is overrepresentation within our school system. It is above what our average is of students with disabilities. So just wanted to highlight that. And then on the next slide, drilling down specifically into this school year by respondents or students being reported as the bully versus those doing the reporting, the complainants. You do see a breakdown here of those students with disabilities. So when we use that term, we of course are talking about IEPs or 504s for Q1 versus Q2. And then of the students reporting, those who are saying that they were bullied or putting the report in, you will also see those students who are not students with disabilities as compared to those who are. Given, I will say, given the conversation that we have when it links to bullying incidents, and you see the chart on the left from Q1 and Q2, we have 5 students with disabilities of the investigated 32. That is likely under again as well, just based on the feedback, the anecdotal feedback and the comments and concerns that we have raised from parents. So I want to draw attention there. And then the note that there were around 12 anonymous complaints, which are looked into on a broad scale, but of course we can't report back to a complaint or a person reporting the bullying when we don't have that reporting information. Okay, thank you.
We may not need to continue to use the microphone. I don't know if you want to try it without this.
Thank you for that presentation. Can you all hear me in the room on Zoom? Can you give a thumbs up if you can hear on Zoom?
Yes, I think yes.
Good, okay. Wonderful. All right, thank you so much for that framing. Now we'll look at, for those of you in the room on the tables, we'll quickly go over what's the current process, what's the practice in place in APS if there is an incident, if you think your child or if someone in the school thinks that a student is being bullied or harassed. Broken down into 3 large steps: say something, what happens next, and then after in the investigation. So for the first part, when you say something, the reporting piece that we'll spend this first half on of the workshop, to report the situation, you contact the school. There is a link on the APS website that will allow you to fill out a bullying and harassment report form. We have the website links there, the QR code. We did receive some feedback in the registration saying the parents and students alike who weren't aware. So please tell people about this. This is new as of last year. Correct? So it is still important to get the word out about this report form so that the next step, what happens next, can ensue. Then the report is sent to the child's principal or school-based administrator. Within 24 hours, they will report that to the parent or guardian. And then the investigation portion will continue through APS. They contact the parent or guardian within 2 school days, correct? Not 24 hours, 2 school days.
24 hours to indicate they've received the report, to say, yes, thank you so much, we have the report, and we'll begin looking into it. And then 48 hours after that, they have to provide a response.
The response.
Right.
Okay, thank you for that clarification. Still learning. Then after the response, after the investigation, both parties will be contacted in writing with the result of the investigation. So you can find more online through the link that you see on the slide. So given this process, we want to focus the first discussion on the say something part. We're going to talk about the barriers. What are the barriers to getting the information to APS so that they can make the appropriate response? We're going to break into groups. The people online will also be able to participate online. We have here 3 flip charts, and you should all have sticky notes. What we want to do is identify all the barriers you can think of from 3 different perspectives. From parent perspectives, from student perspectives, maybe that your student has shared with you, that you've heard from classrooms, personal experience, and from staff perspectives, teachers as principals, as administrators. What are the barriers you think there are to reporting cases? So we're going to take about 20 minutes to start thinking of ideas. We have a few ideas that have already been provided through the registration links if we need some warm-ups to get the ball rolling. But please grab the sticky notes, start writing down your thoughts from any of the perspectives of what are the barriers to reporting incidents of bullying in APS. Any questions?
Oh, I'm gonna go join this.
So why, what are the reasons why somebody would not report, right? Like, and some of it maybe is, you know, there's a form, or yeah, somebody says, right? Like, there's a million reasons, there's some markers, oh, we wanna, brainstorm. One idea for sticky sleep. Oh, okay. One idea. Yeah.
For participants online, please put your thoughts in the chat and we will put them up on the flip chart. Are you sitting at?
I'm writing it down.
All right, yeah.
Oh, so we're talking about barriers and I one that comes.
No, I have no idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I already put some up.
Just to make sure.
Yeah. I think I'm good. Sorry. I think I do my writing is really bad, I guess.
Because the student's supposed to tell a trusted adult about the bullying situation.
Laura, how do you want to do this though? We're not sitting next to you. Do you want me to write them?
So I wrote. Yeah, I think we just got to. Yeah, okay, yeah. So you can just say, if you just say, I got it, then I'll read it.
I think that's a very,
That's a good. So I did.
Or I might just say like this.
Okay.
I can take any to consider God and be
what they're feeling and their.
So I don't even. Maybe,
Never mind.
generally they have,
Okay.
like, I don't know, like.
Oh, there was another line from.
So I always.
Could be the homework teacher, star teacher, whatever.
I
Trusted adult.
Their experience on someone.
And the other part is. I know now.
But that's a plus. Oh, good eye.
For people to understand. Right there. And then another situation, and then also.
Yeah.
One that neither I nor the teacher.
Huh? Say again?
Repeat it.
Oh, I was a kid.
A young person. And then for my side, it's child and then really scared of the repercussions.
Then there's nobody to put it all together.
Either in his.
So it's a confidence
and then
it's a big thing and then oh, yeah. So like, unsure if you want to catch it or there's sort of. There's a lot of areas, there's a lot of areas in class.
Okay.
Or maybe he said maybe.
But you also bring.
Yeah, that's. That actually gets into the really.
Right. Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I think the trust environment is harassment, which is a very, very big problem, but again, I mean, a kid knows that will know that person is right.
Well, you don't know, but I also. Staff case management, high school started as kids, they come in. My social studies teacher, we have to do their own.
Yeah, when they.
Yeah, think about it, not particular issues.
And then that's
One of them, for them, that's important.
Yeah, I thought, no, that's one.
But my husband was my friend. Yeah.
Yeah, feeling safe, like, especially if it's a child kid,
Changed from look at
like over and over. And then something like that happened. And they reported it to me. And then after some time, I started to ask her, what was the background of the kid? And she told me, but none of the teachers, and I don't even blame them, they picked it up because that was in fact part of the pattern. And that's
Yeah, feel like that. That is like one.
Kids are spirited or compassion.
Sit down.
No, that's fine. I mean, it's like. Getting reported.
I don't believe.
We're supposed to go like, well, our guidance, like,
Yeah.
Well, or they were protected if they did report, right?
Yeah.
Because if they told us more than, why would they report it?
I think it's, I'm not sorry for it. I'm looking at it. Struggling right now.
No, I think it. We're filling out a lot.
I mean,
I mean, they're all doing that.
Yeah,
that's
why I'm ignoring you, I'm doing.
Yeah,
I was like, wow, you're really freaking them out. No, people on the internet are. Yeah, trusted.
I said cross. Yeah, I aggregate it.
Yeah, and I just said student communication challenges, like if they have a challenge.
and also.
One way to do it, but.
Oh, yeah, I think parents don't. Because, right, like parents could.
Right, exactly. But a lot of times that.
Yeah, so what was that?
Starting not knowing, we're not available for the right down to this year.
Okay, because we're supposed to do one for each. Barriers that parents have, barriers that students have, which obviously have a lot. And then any barriers for. Yeah, yeah, I think so, yes. I think that's. Yours is good. Let's go get it.
Oh, this is, I went to True. One bar. So do you?
Really?
Please take 3 more minutes for this discussion and to put the stickies up.
A lot of stuff.
What did that?
Yeah, it's changed. Like Arlington. Yeah. It's kind of changed. Like Arlington, but I'm learning that.
I would.
I mean,
Without walls.
Like your old age.
The old age. But the person is something that's a teacher.
Wow, like you reprimand him,
Yeah,
but.
my best friend.
What, like, did he want it? So is
This is my
what
sister.
it is?
Yeah.
So very hard to say, because obviously everything's here, but,
Maybe there's. I have feelings.
We can categorize what we just do.
Not doing
Perfect timing. Thanks everyone for your comments online, for writing.
Now that we got the word, you're.
Yeah, that's what we were thinking. I said, in our case, and I have the impression.
Oh, wow, how convenient. Student is the first word on the student note and parent is the first word on the parent
What another teacher.
But I think this is
My parents are like,
Please wrap up in one more minute.
Oh, yeah.
I know,
Thank you. So they were allowed to say.
Thank you for the comments. All right.
What is that?
School board.
Oh, that's on the text does have it.
Yeah. Your parents want like very like.
You know, person. Right? Fifth grader, so, you know. Yeah, we were all. Whatever was our intent. Oh, nice to meet you. Thank you for all of our. Yeah, definitely. Sorry.
All right, so we're just grouping together. There were some similar responses. And our parent liaison coordinator extraordinaire.
I'll go ahead and start with this one. There are a lot of great ideas. Thank you. And I just want to say that the ideas don't have to stop now. You can keep putting them into the chat, because one of the things we're going to do out of this meeting is to take all of these ideas and anything that filters through the chat, put them in a big document in groupings, right? And then share that back with APS so they can kind of get a sense of trends or, you know, specific ideas that we may be able to focus on, okay? So keep the ideas coming, please. So for barriers, the reasons why students may not report bullying at all is they don't trust that the adults will handle it or solve the problem. One quote from a student was, adults aren't going to fix the problem, so there's no point in reporting. communication challenges. I saw this one come through on the chat, but many of our kids, they may not be verbal, they may be verbal, but not know how to articulate things in a neurotypical way. So that's a big one. Some of them don't even recognize that they're being bullied. Some might say, oh, that person's flirting with me, when it's far from flirting. There's a lot, I'm not gonna touch everything, but the big chunks, retaliation, we got a lot of stickies on retaliation, fear. This one says afraid of being called a snitch and beat up. So that's a big one. Lack of trusted adult, especially at the start of the school year, not sure who to talk to, what adult to talk to. Not wanting to be the problem. So those are some of the high levels of the students. What do we have from the parents?
So from the parents, we have not trusting APS administrators that they're going to do the right thing, or they're going to blacklist them, or they are taking the allegation seriously. Then we have not knowing the process and the tools. So we have here that we don't know the tools that APS has. They don't understand the reporting tool. And then, and many parents don't know about the process. Then we have some like outliers here, so I'm just gonna read a couple of those. So it says, the child doesn't tell you, trusting anonymity. Is that how you pronounce it? Okay, sorry.
We understood you.
And then parents that have had bad experiences before, so they don't, based upon those experiences, they just decide not to report. Then confusing bullying, teasing, so you have to deal with it basically. And then parents that they don't want to invest the time and energy on all those battles where they don't feel that they are going to get any results.
All right, and for teachers or administration folks, some of the reasons why they may not report bullying is teacher fear, repercussion of, just whether it's students, parents, just fear of repercussion, right? Lack of training. This one says don't know what the right questions are for students. Basically, if a child has communication challenges, working with that child to help get to the root of the problem. This one, basically teachers are busy, right? There's how many kids in a class? 26, and if they're in co-taught classes or whatever, there's a lot of kids. So frankly, the teacher may not see all of the interactions. They may see the last interaction, but not the ones leading up to it. And anonymity. So if something's reported anonymously, they can't do a whole lot to really try and solve the problem because they don't know where to start necessarily. So those are just some of the stickies that we got from the teachers. All right.
Thank you. As Kristen said, keep them coming as we continue the discussion. We're sure more ideas will come up. We'll go to the next slide now to get an update from APS. The updates about the response. We identified here a lot of the barriers for reporting that first say something step in the process. We're going to hear from APS now about the response portion of the process.
Can I stand up?
Please.
Okay. Sit when I talk. So when we presented to the board back in November as part of the School Climate and Culture Monitoring Report, we provided information about the fact that we had been in development of a more thorough bullying investigation and findings process for our administrators. So we've talked about in the earlier form that the 24 hours goes by, you get a notification of the fact that we've received the report. After about 48 hours, you should get some update or findings as a result of that investigation. But we wanted to make sure that we really gave our administrators some actual guidance documents that walked them through the entire process from start to finish, as well as what to do, because as some of you have talked about when we were talking about it at our table, like something may happen And it may not be bullying, but it doesn't mean it's not something. And certainly, whatever is going on, if it's distressing a student, we want to make sure that we're providing some type of supportive response to those kids. So in December, we trained all of the administrators, all of the principals, all of the assistant principals, the directors of counseling, and the deans of students. Were all provided a thorough training in how best to respond to, investigate, and then make decisions regarding these allegations of bullying that may come in. Okay, so that was completed in December, and then we needed to come up with a way. We tried to do some data gathering at the conclusion of January to see, now that it's been a month, what do we know has happened? And we ended up with 54 reported investigations. So that's an allegation comes in, and then administrators across the division investigate those. But there were less than 10 that were found to be cases of bullying, less than 10 that were discriminatory harassment, and then a few that were ended up being referred to the Title IX coordinator. And then 23% of those administrators consulted with somebody in DEI and student support on an investigation. Because one of the things we really tried to communicate to our administrators is, if you don't know, if you're unsure, if you think it might be discriminatory harassment, please reach out and let's have a conversation to make sure that you're on the right track, or if we need to provide some additional supports to you. And I think something we also wanted to follow up on was, we had created these lessons over the summer, and we were very intentional about ensuring that they reflected and showed students with disabilities, that we're being clearer about communicating to students that doing something or mistreating a student with a disability is bullying. It could be discriminatory harassment. It could be a lot of things. And from K through 12, we wanted to make sure that that was taking place. So this fall, all of our schools, and that includes our secondary schools, which for me is a big win, because sometimes it can be hard to get those extra lessons in at the high school level, but they were able to provide the first of these 2 lesson units, and then the second lesson is supposed to be done sometime this spring. So next slide, please. So what we've been able to do, and I think particularly a member of Mr. White's team who really helped to develop some of these slides in this process, was we took what we say we do in that one slide of the response form. So within 24 hours, we have to confirm we've received it. And we made sure that we had things in place to support administrators with actually being able to complete that task. So the first thing we have for them is a whole bullying harassment response checklist, which from start to finish walks them through every step of this process that they are supposed to go through, okay? Then, so that there could be more consistent communication with families, we provided an email template for how you respond to a family when you get that allegation, okay? So that they are all using more consistent language, and they don't have to think about it. And one parent isn't saying, well, I got this, but then at my kid's other school, I got this other thing, and they don't align, and I'm confused. Then they have to start investigating, okay? So they have an investigation and decision-making tool that really tries to walk them through, what data are you gathering? You're talking to the complainant, you're talking to the respondent, you're talking to any witnesses, and gathering that information. If for some reason it's an incident that involves something that might have been caught on videotape, are we reviewing the videotape to see what we can visually see taking place? Are there other pieces of information that we need to gather? So that we're not just jumping to something, but that we're actually taking time to talk with students, talk with families, talk with staff, to gather enough information to say, okay, this is what we think happened. Then the tool itself walks them through some of those key indicators. Was the intent to cause harm? Was it repeated, or in a high level of severity that it impacted the students? Some of those questions. And then you sort of walk through then decision-making, and it could be bullying, it could be harassment, discriminatory harassment. It could be something that falls along the lines of sexual harassment, in which case we have to refer it to that Title IX coordinator, or it could be something that is simply mistreatment. But regardless of what it is, parents should be getting notification of what we found, why we found it, and then the supportive measures we're putting in place regardless of what it is. So even if it was mistreatment, if it's making a kid feel less secure, if it's making a kid feel like they don't want to participate in class, do we have some things in place that can support that kid to feel better about being in there, even if it's not, doesn't meet the textbook definition of bullying? We gave schools a whole list of potential supportive measures, but it is not a limiting list. The schools can come up with other items. And then we want to make sure that that is given to families either within that 48 hours after acknowledging receipt, or the school can say we need a little bit more time, but then the final thing should be a findings letter. All right, next slide, please. These are just some screenshots of some of these documents. You can see that they're currently paper forms. We are working for a variety of reasons to move these electronically. It will help with better data collection. It will help administrators have one stop to be able to put all this information in. But these paper forms really try to cover everything that we need. And we got a lot of feedback from the administrators themselves as we developed these to ensure it did meet their needs. Well, we also were meeting some of the guidance we have from the Virginia Department of Education about what our policies and what our practices should be. So the first one is the checklist. It talks about all of the things they're supposed to have done and by when, and they have to provide who did they talk to? When did we get the report? Which parent did I talk to at the end? Did we send this to both the respondent and the complainant? We have a safety plan template in there in case there is the need for a student to have a plan to feel more secure at school, or if we need some agreements about kids are gonna leave, some kids are gonna give each other some good quality space, you know, as we go through the day. And then copy a little template of the decision letter so you can see, like, we are starting off with, this is our main goal for our kids, this is the policy we're following, and this is what our definition of bullying is, and then we can talk about, as we go through, why or why not a specific situation met that. We also then talk about the supportive measures that we are providing to students as a result of those actions.
Thank you so much for that overview and update. Now we're going to bring it back to all the participants, put you to work again. But this time we started off identifying barriers. We're going to switch to be solution focused and brainstorm how can we all improve the APS process that we've heard about today. So brainstorming ideas about how to make both the reporting part of the process and the response part of the process better. What are good practices that are working? Because there are positive things. Things have shifted. This whole process has been put in place. So we're moving in the right direction. What are those good practices that are working that we can maybe multiply among more schools or all schools? What should we stop doing? Are there any pieces of this that need to be modified or eliminated or changed in some way? The more specific you can be in your recommendations, we're going to put the sticky notes up here again on how to improve this process. Please be as specific as possible in terms of practices that you see that are working or that could potentially be an improvement. What should we continue doing and what should we start? What are new practices that we can start doing, keeping in mind the barriers that were identified, particularly in the first part? So we'll take about 12 minutes for this discussion in groups again, and online we'll be putting your ideas up on the flip charts. And we'll recap. We'll try and have some time for Q&A at the end but we want to get some solution-focused ideas on how we can improve things.
And if anybody needs, a flow chart to look at, to, jumpstart the brain, I've got copies.
Oh, great idea.
It's not really, it's not really we can put that in, the parking. I think it's in the parking lot. Yeah. I just wanted to like.
Yes, okay.
Let's switch it up.
I was just looking at the form, which I had never seen before. And it says like, of course, Arlington Public Schools is created and supported. Then the definition, and then a copy of your responses.
I'll go here. You go there.
But maybe there might be a disclaimer there that's like. Like, because right now, I'm like, if I submit this, where does it go? Receives it, how it needs to be.
I know.
Would you point to?
Right, like, I mean, he just said everything. It was really good to part of it, but maybe just like a little bit of. Knowing that like, this will be notifying, but like.
Yeah.
And the new direction or something in the middle. But that they can now separate. My son was like,
Yeah. Where do these go?
Yeah, no, we met, I know, but my last name. So is there something that's like?
Okay, Kristen's going to recap what's come in from all your ideas. Keep writing down your ideas on the stickies. We're gonna keep it moving. We want to get a couple questions in. Yeah, perfect.
If you can hear my voice, clap once. If you can hear my voice, clap twice.
There we go.
Got it. Three. He gets some applause.
Somebody's been a teacher in here.
Got the experts bringing the attention. All right, Kristen.
All right, so let's start with what's working. And even though there's just one. It's a pretty big one, okay? We have a process and a reporting tool. Right, like, I don't want to minimize that because we didn't used to have that, and that is so huge. So thank you for that. But let's talk about how to make these better, right? Really, because that's why we're all. Tons of ideas, and I'm sure I've missed a couple, but let's see. All right, just we can improve the form. There's some, usability, things like that. Tell people about the form and the process. Mark it, promote, use the PTAs. There's a million things we could do there. Where I post. Oh, so this is don't punish victim. We've got that up here. And then after, if there is a bullying incident, make sure that the students are getting support so that they can, it doesn't happen again, right? They need to be taught and help through this. There's not enough of that there. Culture shift, right? Just getting people more comfortable with the idea of understanding what it is, reporting it, not being afraid to report it. Somebody suggested maybe the teachers have a slightly different reporting tool or process. They might have slightly different needs. For schools that have higher bullying rates, now that we have this data, what are there plans or action plans or protocols for how we might work with them so that we can bring those numbers down? A couple suggestions for start doing audits. Oh my God. Oh, just data transparency to administrators, right? Making sure administrators are getting the feedback loop of the data as well as the public. We have a ton of data. APS put a ton of data online, which is great. I love data. And this would be a great data set to add. Well, post-bullying support to students, which is both the bully and the person being bullied, right? Because behavior is a form of communication. So clearly everybody needs a little bit of help. And then there's quite a few stickies on that whole third part of the column of the process. The whole reporting is unclear, right? And I think some of it's because it's new and maybe people have had different experiences at different schools. But there's more work to be done there on whether it's an action plan, flow charts, You guys showed a couple templates, but I don't know how much those are being used. Just helping parents understand what to expect so that they can hold the schools accountable and also give schools the room to go do their work instead of saying, what are you gonna give me? So tons of good ideas here. And in the parking lot, we had a data question. This sort of goes back to, data transparency, but, it's safety transfers. That's a very specific one. And then this was, focus on teaching students what bullying looks like. This goes back to the SEL lessons that we're already doing, but, trying to optimize those. And Colton has one more. This is when there isn't bullying, just closing the loop. So some of that goes over to the follow-up reporting. All right, tons of great ideas. Thank you. And again, this is not the end of idea generation, so keep sending them in, even if you send them into SEPTA's info form over the next couple of days, because it's going to take a little bit to get all this written up.
All this will be written up, shared online for the broader community, also shared with the APS and followed up on. So keep the ideas coming. We have 10 more minutes. We want to respect everybody's time. We know it's freezing and late, but we had a few questions come in. So we want to dedicate 5 minutes for Q&A. And I'll start us off with a question. We have 2 questions that we received in the registration feedback. First, what is the role of the bully prevention coordinator and what should parents expect from this person?
I'm not sure who wants to. Some bully prevention.
What is the role?
What do you mean?
Bully prevention coordinator, and that there is one bully prevention coordinator at every school?
Yeah, I think that person is a partner with our SEL liaisons and working with the administration. It's not a standalone position that I'm aware of at any of our schools. So when you talk about impact, truthfully, I mean, it's not that's that person's full-time job. So I think it's many of our areas have different liaisons, whether it's SEL or equity influencers at the elementary level. We use them primarily to help facilitate information. Sometimes they do co-present and lead professional development, but they are separately full-time teachers or something in the school. So
can I ask a clarifying question? Is the coordinator someone who's really meant to support the school staff, or is that a person that parents maybe could reach out to if they're not sure who to start with?
I'm sure they could reach out. We have the list by school here.
I'm trying to remember, and I think some of this may be going back and reviewing the PIPs and the policies. I thought that we had adjusted some of that language because when we look about bullying prevention, that is something specifically that's under the purview for the most part of our school counselors. They're the ones who are teaching the most of these lessons. They are the ones that are working to try to set up these structures to educate our students. Our SEL coordinators certainly support. Our deans of students absolutely support some of this work in those schools at the secondary level. And then really that piece of the intervention part, what we've just talked about here tonight, is something that's part of the administrators in the building. So I want to make sure that I have a better understanding of where the term bullying prevention coordinator is coming from, because I want to look at that and make sure that we're being clear with where those folks are in buildings and who is really responsible for those items.
Yeah, so just actually one of the next slides.
Yeah, it's on the resource.
So the last link is the list of bullying prevention coordinators by school.
Okay.
And you're right, it tends to be counselors based on what I saw from the couple schools I knew. It would just be useful to add to this page what the expectation is, because this is that master bullying page. It has the button like submit your report here or whatever. Just like, what do we do with this information?
Sorry, there's a question.
So we've added this to another opportunity to improve, looking into this, clarifying and sharing that information. Thank you for that. I'm going to go to the second pre-registration question and then we'll come to you, or is it related to? Okay. So we received actually 5 questions related to this topic. So I'm going to consolidate them into one mega question. And that is, what safeguards are in place and what does APS do to prevent promoting principals / administrators who have a track record of bullying students and violating APS rules and guidelines, particularly specifically when there have been commitments to complete investigations related to specific principals, assistant principals, and those investigations have not taken place.
So just to paraphrase, to make sure I got it, it's what are the accountability measures when something's been reported, a family's been told that they're going to be investigated, and then they're saying it hasn't been. Did I get that?
Yes, specifically for administrators, principals who have had multiple, they specifically reference a track record. So this isn't just one incident, but there have been multiple reports that APS has been brought to the attention of APS, and they have been told that there will be an investigation response and have not seen the results of that.
There are going to be some cases when there will be investigations that take place regarding any allegations, whether it's an administrator, a teacher, an employee within APS, that may not warrant a parent being provided with details regarding the results of those investigations, because it may fall into an HR personnel action. And so those things will not always be communicated to parents. The reality is there are going to be some instances where investigations, the results of those investigations are going to be readily seen. If there are certain behaviors that become so egregious that you see an administrator or a staff member one day, you may not see them the next day, there may be an assumption about what resulted in the investigation. There's a full continuum of actions that can take place as it results in a response to an investigation that we may not be privy to share because it's part of a personnel action. So I think that what families should be aware of is that if there are particular cases, and I'm speaking strictly from the lens of an administrator, where there are things that are being done that they don't feel or they need to ensure that there's knowledge or awareness made to my office in particular about the actions thereof of an administrator that they don't feel is in alignment with what is the expectations or guidance, you should reach out. But I do want to share that the absence there of information per se does not always indicate that there isn't any action that is taking place as a result of those investigations.
Could you maybe, thank you for that, could you maybe specify in the case of when the bullying is from an administrator, you say do reach out, could you clarify in which way and to whom?
And maybe I'm sorry, maybe I misunderstood the question, because I took the question to mean that as if a parent has had multiple concerns about a principal's or an administrator's response to concerns of allegations, then what would be, because then that is a performance issue, correct? I mean, it's a concern about a person's responsibility. Am I wrong?
No, we actually have both questions.
Okay.
What is the response when there is a track record given the data and the administrator's response? The bullying is continuing within the school. That's one question we got up here. In the registration, the question was when the principal is bullying, is the bully.
Oh, wow. I would say that my response would be to definitely reach out to let me know about the bullying of concerns or allegations that they feel that the principal is bullying them. They definitely need to communicate out to me.
Is that a direct email to your?
Most people directly email me, yes, ma'am. Please make sure you do LEY, because oftentimes people will say Kimberly, but mine is LEY, but I'm not at all trying to make jest or light of it. But in any situation, just as you would follow if a teacher, if there are concerns about what's happening in the classroom with your child's teacher, the person who you would bring those concerns to, of course, would be the teacher. Teacher isn't addressing them. You go to the school administration and so on and so forth. The administrator is the same. If there's a concern that a family has about things that are happening, that is part of what my office does, facilitate and oversee. So it would be reaching out to be able to say that I have a concern and I'd like to speak with you, or typically, if I'm available, given the circumstances of the case and the other components of the scenario, I may directly involve myself, or I may direct one of my directors to reach out to meet with the family.
Okay. Yeah, I think the trick was, since the reports go to the principal, if the report is of a principal bullying, then that.
Yeah, because I think that was what we were speaking about at the table when we were together. The reality is that I think all of us with great intentions set forward, as do our administrators, expectations of what we would like to have accomplished. And so, you know, when you look at the full continuum of where people lie, we're going to hear from families who are going to be very strong advocates for their child and the needs of their families. We have a whole continuum and group of families that we don't get to hear from for a whole host of reasons that impact why they may not feel comfortable moving forward, or whatever choice that they make as a response to particular incidents. So we want to make sure that while we are responding to some, that our practices are making certain that even for the voices that we don't hear, that we are ensuring that those appropriate things are in place to support students and families in our larger community.
Thank you. We'll take one last question.
Yes, and if I may, I think part of the question was, how do we prevent administrators and principals who have a track record of repeated bullying and or infractions, reported and proven record, to promote them up versus holding them accountable? That was, and this is a question I frequently see elsewhere as well, where it's a joke, it's a cynical remark. Parents make, yep, APS has a track record of promoting such individuals up versus holding them accountable. I think that was part of the question that was not answered yet. So that, and then I can get to my question. Yes.
I don't think I quite heard that, but I'll give a response to the perception that there's a cloud of promotion versus addressing the reality of some things. There are going to be opportunities and instances where us at our level, meaning myself, there are going to be details about scenarios that I can't share, and I won't be able to defend or to provide a different information to shed light on some of the decisions that are made. And so that is where there are going to be some cases that others may feel that in APS, there may be a culture where people are not, held accountable, or that they are promoted. And so that may happen because in my position, I'm not able to always defend some of the other components of a particular situation that would provide and give some sense of understanding or rationale for decisions that are made. What I seek to do in most cases with the engagement that I have for students and families is look at all of the components and circumstances in a particular situation and make the best decision based on that information that I have. When there's clear evidence that there's been a violation of policy, there's clear evidence that there's been laws that have been breached, I do believe that there are going to be some actions that are going to warrant a particular response. That's not at all to diminish the concerns that I know you're raising, but I also feel that there are variances to every circumstance that are gonna not always lend themselves to be able to show an immediate response to a particular action at a particular time. I will say apart from that, when we talk about clear samples and evidence of when there's things not being done for students, when there's violations, then there are things that are not being done for students. I encourage every family that's here that can hear us, that can see us, we're being recorded, that you should continue to reach out and continue to reach out. Arlington has a very engaged community. And I appreciate that engagement. I want to ensure that for those voices that we don't hear, because those are also the students and the families that fall victim to those things when things aren't done the way that they should be. And that's why we want to make sure that they know that as well.
Okay, with regards to the list of bully prevention coordinators by school, right? It sounds like it's not a fully baked scenario or process in the manner that the report, this chart showcases, right?
Sure.
And so and when this gets rolled out, when the list is being advertised or communicated, will it be a cadre of coordinators who have received the same training in regards to cultural competency, psychological safety, the understanding of what the mission of this whole thing is? And earlier there was a thing that was reporting to the principal versus reporting to the process, wherever the process sits, right? And then that is not an additional duty as assigned, but instead it's a serious responsibility and assignment where it's results driven. So it's a question and a request at the same time, I guess.
Sure. I mean, I've been clarifying with my team while we've been sitting here. I mean, it is the school counselors that are responsible for overseeing bullying prevention. Bullying prevention coordinator is not a standalone position. We're not currently staffed to have standalone positions in our schools that are specific to that. Do they all receive training? Absolutely. All of our school counselors received multiple trainings prior to the start of the school year, and then as the school year was going on, in order to understand and implement the additional lessons we provided. In fact, we made some changes between that first training and the second training based upon their direct feedback, because again, we want to make sure that our work meets the needs of our professionals in the buildings and that they feel comfortable doing it. All of our school counselors have received, by nature of their degrees, have received training in cultural competence, counseling skills, interview skills, group counseling skills, in order to be trained and competent in supporting students and families and classrooms with kids that may bring a variety of emotions and ideas and knowledge to a particular classroom. So I do feel very confident in their ability to oversee that prevention program. What we need to do is make sure our website reflects the current state of where we are with that. And then I think in terms of the intervention piece, because they are tied together, that intervention piece is something that we have been working on with our administrators, as we talked about earlier.
Thank you. Thank you so much, everyone, for hanging with us a few minutes over time. We're going to hand it over to APS for some concluding thoughts and a message from Dr. Duran, and then we will close the night out. Our presidents will close the workshop.
Thank you so much. And we're chuckling because it was the first note that I had to myself that I was supposed to say, Dr. Duran is sorry that he is not here. He is at CCPTA, but has been working with us as a team, and of course, meeting with SEPTA regularly. So he just wanted to relay why he was not here, because he was at CCPTA. And I keep saying, don't let me forget, because he was said it so many times. I'm sorry, I'm not going to be able to be there. Yeah, just on behalf of the panel, I want to thank everyone for your honest feedback, your very helpful feedback, and that we are committed and have already talked about how do we take this information, look for trends, and then put it into action and make changes. I mean, there are some things that came up tonight that we know, I know I certainly hadn't thought about, and can be some ways that we could clarify communication and get to immediate action steps there. Just a reminder for all of us, we are all available. If there are any questions, if you have individual situations that you want to talk more specifically about, please reach out to us. That's what we are here for. We truly, everyone on this panel wants students, all of our students, to be able to come to school and feel safe and feel supported and be a student who is known by name, strength, and need, that we are responding to those needs when we see them. So this has been a major area of focus, as you heard from student services as well as the department. We are still strengthening. It is a work in progress. We know that there continue to be challenges, so we're not trying to sugarcoat anything. And we just really appreciate the direct feedback that you've given tonight, and we look forward to putting things into action. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thanks for making the time.
Yeah.
All of you.
Yes, I just wanna thank everyone here, APS, thank you so much. Our wonderful board, we have Wendy, we have Emily, we have Peter, we have Pip, we have Fritz. Thank you so much for being here. And I want to thank especially Laura, because she had the idea to put this together, and Christine for all her work putting this together, along with Jen, who couldn't be here today because she's traveling. And Cecilia, of course, for facilitating, and Kathleen for all your help, technical support, always helping us to put wonderful events together. What I wanted to say is that we are going to put together a report, and we want to deliver the report with all the ideas and everything that we collected here, and hopefully we can figure out next steps. That's all I want to say. Thank you so much. Thank you, the board members, for being here. We really appreciate you. We appreciate your support.
And I'll just say
important.
one more thing that I would say, if you have more ideas that pop into your head when you're in the shower tomorrow morning or whatever, send them in this week, but anytime this week through the SEPTA form, or you can submit the RSVP form again, I don't care, but just get them to us, because that way we can get them into the report. So keep them coming this week.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Stay warm, stay safe.
Thank you so much.
Do it right back. Do it right back.